Welcome to Origin Stories. I'm RD.
I'm Parrot.
We're telling stories behind the digital art revolution.
Each week we interview top artists
and live stream with the community.
Let's go. Today is tomorrow's origin story.
Carlos Marcial, welcome to Origin Stories.
Thank you. Super happy to be here. It's an honor to be here with you, Roger. Thank you for having me.
I say this, it's a long time coming. I mean it in regards to several individuals. I just want to say why I mean it with regards to you. The passion, Carlos. The passion it comes through the keys on your Twitter account, right? I can read it and I can feel it. It is palpable. And so this is one I'm very excited for.
Dude, I'm super happy. I've been watching you, like I was telling you before we started. I've been watching the content, the interview with Tommy Wilson, with Parotism, and I really like the format, how comfortable you make artists feel. So I'm super excited. It's a pleasure. I don't say this lightly. Everything that's been going on NFTs right now has been a blessing. But having people like you really care about the space, that's the biggest blessing for me.
Thank you, man. And I feel lucky and I feel grateful to be able to build in a space with incredible artists. You are the center of the universe, right? I am only able to build because you are. And so right. Now we come together and let's talk about some amazing things. And Carlos, the episode and all episodes must start here. What is your origin story?
Right. So my origin story goes back to maybe Mexico City, where I was born. I was both my parents are from Puerto Rico, from the Caribbean. They came, well, actually my mom, she's half Mexican and half Puerto Rican. And that's why she ended up here in Mexico City studying. And so did my dad, who's a painter. So he came to Mexico to study painting. Both of them come from, I would say low middle class backgrounds. So for them, getting out of Puerto Rico to study was really meaningful. And I was born here where I am currently living. But I wasn't raised here. I was raised in San Juan, in the capital city of Puerto Rico. So culturally, I'm Puerto Rican. I've become much more Mexican since I decided to move here 10 years ago. I mean, I had like the chance 10 years ago of seeing the country where I was born and kind of I had been coming to Mexico since I was a little kid, but I had never lived in Mexico. So like 10 years ago, I had the opportunity to come over and I loved it. I loved the city. I met my wife here. I have 3 kids, so I just stayed here. But I was actually raised in Puerto Rico. That's where I discovered art. Like I told you, I was raised by parents that were into art. My dad was a painter, and my mom, she's been a Spanish teacher for the longest time. Later on, she did some courses on art history. And she's also been teaching art history in Puerto Rico. So from an early age, I was exposed to all of those things, even though, right, I come from like a low middle class family. So we didn't have a lot of money, but there was a lot of culture. Mm-hmm. There were always books. We will always go to theater. We will always go to the museums. Obviously, my dad, for a long time, he eventually became an art professor, an art teacher, mm-hmm. In San Juan. But he had an interesting chance when I was growing up at becoming like an artist that could live from the sales of his paintings. Mm-hmm. So when I was a little kid, that was part of my growing up. Going to my dad's exhibitions, going to my dad's friends' exhibitions. So I was exposed to all of that, to the importance of culture and visual arts from an early age. Yeah.
So when it comes to, it's an interesting, the household from the beginning, very creative from both sides, right? Yeah. In different ways, in different forms of expression. Right. With your dad specifically, because he was a painter and he had that ability and opportunity to, like you said, to make a living from selling his artwork. What's a formative moment or a lesson or even an artwork of his that you remember, I don't know, having a conversation or a moment around that meant something to you in those early years?
This is a funny story. I mean, it's not a pretty story, but I think it now makes sense to me. Uh, I'm just thinking about it. I was really small. I was probably like 3 or 4 years. I'm not quite sure, but I was really young. And my dad was painting. I don't know if it was a commission piece or not.
Mhm.
I don't have the best relationship right now with my dad, so that's why some information like I don't have it. But I do remember back then he was working on this very big canvas. It was a landscape of like the inner parts of the island of Puerto Rico, like the mountains. And he had been working on it. I mean, like for a month and a half, 2 months, something like that, every day. And I just went. He used to have his art studio on top of the house where I grew up, and I at one moment like they just let me unattended, and I went up and I grabbed one of the brushes that he had there with like I remember it was red painting,
Yeah.
and I went crazy on it. Wow, 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 wow.
Oh,
My mom my mom had to take me. I think we spent like couple of days either with my aunt or my grandmother because my dad couldn't see me.
oh no.
I had messed up a couple of months of hard work. So I think I don't that never I mean that's like a foundational thing that it's on my mind because I realized how important the artistic practice is.
Mhm,
I understood really early the value of something beautiful, of a pretty
mhm.
um, image. I understood it. I mean, my dad, I don't remember ever seeing my dad as angry as I remember him, even though I was really little. So I think I was able to understand really early on the value of art, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
and
Yep.
and like the heart and the time and the effort and the craft. Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
Carlos, what this makes me think of in a different way is this see this Trevor Jones painting back here?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
It is not hung yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
also well, I have one, you have three. I have one child. She's 3 years old.
Oh, cool.
And she will come and I need to get this painting hung because she will
Yes.
come and she will
Yes.
stand
Yes.
this close,
Yes.
like nose to the painting. And every time I
Yes. 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 Yes.
I
Yes.
say, please no, please.
Yes. Exactly. I mean, and what can you do? They're kids.
Exactly.
I was a kid. I didn't, but if she ever does it and she see how angry she'll understand like I did how important art is for a lot of people and
What a
how
le-
valuable it is.
and what a lesson too that you were 3 or 4 years old and
Yeah.
it's still so clear in your mind, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, that's for me. Like art has always been, foundational, and it's always been super important. I mean, we've valued art and culture at our house much than we valued money.
Hmm.
I come from that kind of family.
Hmm.
My dads were like hippies in the 70s. So I come from that kind of background. I was raised by a couple of hippies. My dad was around until I was like 12. Later on, and it's interesting because I was talking to CNN about this, and I think like we were talking about my origin story too. And obviously, we're not gonna get as deep as I might get here with you. But I told them that I know that my dad parted ways with us because he couldn't make money out of his art or not enough you know for all the aspirations that my mom had for us. I don't think my dad was up to the challenge of figuring out how the art markets work. How do you make them work for you? I don't think he ever had kind of like that's not special, but you know this, right? Like you need to be able to communicate with others.
Mhm.
You need to be able to talk with the collectors. I don't think my dad was actually really willing to do that. I think he had a very bohemian kind of image of what an artist like what that meant. And I don't think he ever like was really willing to put that work, because that's part of the work. You create the art, you create the painting, right? You do the animation, whatever it might be, the 3D steel, and then you have to talk about it. You have
True.
to present it to others. You need to have that ability. And unfortunately, I don't think my dad had that ability, and probably that costed him the marriage, and eventually he just kind of like faded away.
It is. I'm sorry for that occurrence, like that things happen that way. I I do think it's something that is not uncommon. It's a different, call it a skill set, call it. I don't know the right verbiage or the right framing for it, but let's just say skill set, because that's the word that's coming to my mind. It's different, right? It is different. Sometimes it's not native or natural. Sometimes there's this thought. It's like a utopian thought, right? It's a thought of purity. It's that the art is the art, and the art should stand on its own.
Right.
I think oftentimes the reality is that it needs the context, the story, the community, the togetherness, the explanation, and then it clicks together.
Dude, I couldn't agree anymore with you. I think that's totally, and that's it. And I think a lot of artists all around the world have a lot of problems figuring that out. And I don't know if it has to do with the formal art education, with art schools, whatever it might be, film schools. Like they rarely touch upon those subjects. And let me just say here quickly, like, I'm sorry for like my English, for like some pronunciation of my English.
Please, you're doing great. This is perfect.
So I think it has to do with that. Like we don't get educated enough about that. We actually get the other kind of like, no, that's bad, that's wrong. Like money, it's evil, it's the root of all evil. You're just gonna like, and you end up like being taught by all these teachers that dream of being professional artists, but they're only professors or teachers, because actually they themselves didn't probably figure out what they needed to figure out to be recognized by the markets. Pure and simple.
Carlos, what was the analogy you used on Twitter? You were talking about cafe tables.
Oh yeah, about Montmartre.
I thought it was fabulous, so please share.
Yeah, because I see people constantly talking like, oh, NFT crypto art, it's horrible, because you got all the artists, pushing their art all the time, it kind of like signs saying, buy my art, buy my art. And for me, it's never felt like that. I mean, I remember, when I tokenized my first NFT back in 2019, I mean, obviously there was like less people, but the conversations on Twitter were quite they weren't all about the sales. The sales felt like the excuse to get to know a lot of money, or to get to know Lucho, Poletti, or XCOPY. That was the excuse, and then all of those things have flourished into exceptionally friendships, and very interesting friendships. So I feel like people are, and I don't like to be like the one, oh, you're not getting it, you're doing it wrong, because there's actually no wrong or right side of doing anything in crypto art, because this is all so freaking new.
Yeah.
Like, who knows? Like, I'm just a random digital artist on Twitter. Like, you don't take my words so seriously, but I just like to be honest, and I just like to talk, from I do have filters, but I think I placed the right filters, in between. And it's like, dude, this is like, they used to have Montmartre, which can actually be translated literally into Spanish as, or in English as Marcial's mountain.
How perfect is that?
How perfect is that? It's my mountain, Montmartre. it means, you know, from Mars. From Marcial comes from Mars. It's a pagan surname. Yeah. So what I was saying is that, you know, and we don't have that. That's what they had in the early 20th century. You know, Picasso, Braque, Dali. That's where they would go, and you know, but we have Twitter. That's and it's great. Like I tell people that I don't feel no nostalgia for the past. Like maybe I had it when I was like a teenager, and you look more into the past to see who you are and to create an identity. But as I've become more entangled in digital art and technology and blockchain and crypto and Bitcoin, it's like, no, I don't have no nostalgia. Yeah, some part of me would have loved to be there with these people, with these artists, but some part of me, which is most of me, is super happy to be having these conversations at a global scale, you know, with people from all over the world. That's even better.
And I also like, I guess I do have a bit of nostalgia about me, but I am with you in that most of me is grounded in the present and projecting to where this goes into the future. But there is, I think the piece of what you said, the nostalgic piece, you know, imagining those cafe roundtable conversations. And I think that visual is really important in carrying into the Twitter, the digital space, right? And imagining it's how people naturally interact. We're all having these conversations. And to your point about being willing to talk about your art and being willing to pay attention to putting it out there, right? If someone were to, I don't know, hopefully get a piece of advice maybe out of this, if someone is struggling with that aspect, thinking about it like conversations around a cafe table, finding when somebody says something on Twitter, when Carlos posts something on Twitter, getting involved in that cafe roundtable.
I actually got anxious that I got like 120, like last time I checked, it had like 120 likes and like 50 like retweets and like 40 comments. And I'm like, because it's crazy for me, because the way that I'm putting that information out there, it's quite literally like that. I'm just having the thought that I would have, you know, conversing with these other artists, and I just want to change. I just want to share the depths of my humanity, you know, because that's what I'm pretty sure they found interesting about each other, you know. So it's kind of like, and then when I see the reaction and how well people reacted to that whole, like you say, mental image of how we could approach each other inside crypto art Twitter, I wasn't prepared for that, you know, because it still is that little cozy cafe conversation that we're having, but we're not, like I put at the end, now we're having all these other tables being pulled around us, you know, because the conversation is growing and the players are growing, and that's great, because the cafe at Montmartre didn't scale.
Good point.
That didn't scale. You couldn't bring that, you know, artistic momentum. I'm pretty sure obviously you had some of the most interesting conversations in that have ever happened in the art world, but it could have been bigger. It could have, you know, let more people in. It could have been more decentralized. In that way, that Café Montmartre, it was centralized. You had to be in Paris at that time to participate in those conversations. Right?
And you had to have a chair close enough, but there's only so much room.
Exactly. So it's interesting to see how this, I mean, obviously it has its shortcomings. Like anything technological, and we could spend an hour only talking about that. But I try to, you know, I don't know how to say, to go hard on the things that I see that could potentially benefit other artists, and I think one of them is being able to let go of that mask, of that image of what an artist should be, and just try to be yourself, you know.
That's a powerful way to say it. Let go of the mask, be yourself. I think if someone can truly do that, I think only good things happen from there. I think
so.
that spirit of authenticity, it's I don't know. I'm sure maybe you feel this way. Do you feel this way when you see something along those lines? Like when I read that on your Twitter, I think to myself, Carlos is powerful. Like he's being authentic. He's pulling me a chair around his cafe table, right? Can you read that in others sometimes and say that is them at their best, shining and authentic?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. All the time. And I tend to gravitate to those other artists that have come up with their own different ways of expressing who they are. Even if it's only with with characters, I would like one that comes immediately to my mind. It's XCOPY.
Yeah.
The way he communicates, the ways he phrases things, I feel that. I feel he's trying to fill me in on something. Sometimes I get it completely, sometimes I don't. All the time I get his personality, right? His authenticity, and that's all I need, and that's why I am guessing when I started in crypto, I kept coming back. I would say, for example, XCOPY is one of them. Again, I came in sort of like at the same time as Alotta Money. I think that's another person that has, tons of personality. He was actually here too, right? Wasn't he?
Oh,
He
yeah.
was. Right. Yeah, shout outs to Alotta Money. What a great guy. What a fabulous guy. And he came in at the more or less we tokenized, or did we tokenize the same day? I don't remember. I think we have might tokenize the same day, exactly the same day.
Which, if that's true, that is unbelievable.
Yes, I think that's true. I'm not quite sure because I have so many things on my mind and so much information. But I think he actually reminded me, not like when I turned like a year old in on NFTs. I think he reminded me that we either tokenized the same month, or I think it was the same day.
That's amazing. We're gonna
that's surreal. That's crazy.
I'm gonna get to work on that one because that one needs to be. If that needs to be out there front and center. Two legends.
Yeah. And we tokenized the same day without knowing what would happen. Incredible. And what the future had in store for us. We were just playing around, man, and that gets me emotional because that's the beauty of it. Like, how did that happen? Like, how? I'm still in disbelief. It's too crazy. So when I was like coming back to the subject, when I remember like reading those guys on Twitter, I was like, this is so fun. So I kept coming back, to read them, to be filled in by them. So I feel that I can see it on other people.
This is great. Let's take a step all the way back to Carlos's journey.
Right.
And let's go back to childhood, growing up in a very artistically inclined household. You have that moment with your father's painting where you realize the importance and the depth of what is being put on canvas. And let's go a step further. When then do you begin to create, and what are some of the first creations that you remember?
I actually enjoy. This is really interesting, but this is like the whole story, and I'll try to make it quick, but I promise it all makes sense at the end. I actually began writing. I really liked writing. I had another interesting experience when I was already in high school or middle school. I'm not quite sure. I don't remember quite well. It was my in a Spanish class, Mrs. Segarra. I remember her name. Hope she's doing well. So she let us like Spanish class. So and it was high school. So we ended up writing short stories for that class. And I remember writing a short story that somehow I had inside of me when I was like 14, 15 years old, about this old guy falling in love with this, young girl, 20 something. I remember even the name, the image, it was the pink door. It was all about a pink door. Anyway, I wrote that and I handed that, and she gave it back to me with a big zero. And I was like, wow, what happened here? I poured all my heart and soul into writing this short story. Why? And I checked, the in the back, I
Mhm.
was guessing there was some kind of writing, and she had said, I want to know, very authoritative. I want to know who you copy this story from.
Ah,
She thought I like it was impossible that a kid at 14, 15 years old had written something like that, which at the end became the biggest compliment, obviously.
absolutely. That had a good tie-up. I was all of a sudden thinking, oh no, where is this story going? That's the best ending. So
Hmm.
she thought you for sure you plagiarized it from
Yeah,
somewhere else.
yeah, word by word. I like she said this must have been copied verbatim, and I had to. My mom had to go to school.
Uh-huh.
My mom had saw me doing writing it.
Uh-huh.
I even remember discussing the short story with my mom. So my mom had to go to school to defend me so I could get a good grade.
Uh-huh.
Um,
And did she come around? Did your teacher come
yeah,
around?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. So I'm thankful. I'm thankful. She just let me know really early on that I had some kind of like creative talent,
Mhm.
So I started writing. That was my first passion, and reading, because I've always been a voracious reader. I think like whatever I know in English and whatever vocabulary I have in English, it hasn't been that much from like watching films,
Mhm.
um, rather than from like reading
Mhm.
in English. So I knew I had some kind of talent with that. Eventually, I got accepted into the University of Puerto Rico, and I thought I was gonna study. I actually started studying literature.
Mhm.
That was my thing. I thought I was gonna become a writer, but I always drew. I always did little drawings here and there. I always enjoyed that because I grew up, for some time watching my dad paint. So at one point when I was at the University of Puerto Rico, I thought to myself, like, I don't think I'm this good of a writer, and I don't think I'm this good of a visual artist. So I thought to myself, what can I do that mixes a little bit of those things that I'm passionate about? So it was cinema, it was film, it was animation. So when I got into the University of Puerto Rico, I started doing short films, little, very experimental, very crazy
Mhm.
short films that I watch them today and I cringe. They make me cringe a little bit. But that's I would say those were my first steps when I realized that I could mix my passion for storytelling and for writing
Mhm.
with my passion for visual art, and that those two things um, could collide in film, and that's how I got started into in love with animation. So I eventually started doing my first short films, and I wanted to put like VFX, and I wanted to put pretty stuff in it, and that's how I taught myself how to use software like After Effects or Cinema 4D for
Mhm.
creating like 3D scenes and that kind of stuff, because I wanted to use that knowledge to create my short films.
I love that. So the magic was in the middle. The magic was in the collision.
Yes,
This.
always,
Oh.
always, always. Like I told you, I don't know if that's on record, but I was telling you about how I began working for blockchain companies before I discovered crypto art. And then when I discovered crypto art, it was like, boom, my two passions.
Hmm.
Like already I was passionate about blockchain and Bitcoin and crypto because I was working with these blockchain companies. And I was getting really passionate about it, and then crypto art came, and I had always been passionate about art,
Right.
right? And then the two things collided, and I think when these two things that collide that you didn't expect to collide, that's when magic happens.
Magic happens, and dots connect. Isn't it magical in life when there are multiple pieces of your personality that matter, or multiple things that mean
Right.
something to you, and then all of a sudden, like that, they come together in the moment?
That's and the thing is, like, that doesn't happen often,
No.
right? Like lightning doesn't strike twice in the same place, right? So for when I saw that happening, the same thing with film and animation. It's kind of like, dude, I just gotta go all in on this.
And so the decision is then made, right? These dots connect, your mind lights up, you're on fire with possibility, I'm sure, at that moment in time when it's all clicking and making sense to you.
Yeah.
How do you decide what to tokenize? How do you decide what to create first in honor of these dots colliding?
Yeah, definitely. I honor the dots. If that makes sense, or let me explain myself. Like, the dots start connecting and they haven't stopped connecting since I discovered crypto art. And the dots, it may sound a little bit pretentious, but the dots talk to me. The dots talk to me, if that makes sense, you know. I just get the ideas. I mean, obviously, Roger, now, I mean, since becoming like a full-time crypto artist, and, you know, let's be real, since becoming a much more economically, with more economical resources, you know, an artist with a little bit more economical resources, because like I was telling you, when I started tokenizing, it was $100, 120 to 150. I mean, back then for me, that was, wow, this is crazy. This is good. I mean, it was good enough for me already back then. But from some time onwards, the possibility to kind of like just concentrate on creating have opened, and I'm gonna quote the doors here, have opened doors of perceptions. You know, and they I have more time. I have more time for I live life, you know, because since I don't have to go to the studio anymore, I don't work a 9 to 5 anymore. I don't have a creative director on top of me telling me what's next, what's the next client. I don't have any of that. I just I have more time for myself, for my family. I have more time for self-knowledge. That's why, like I say, it might sound pretentious, but it's true. It's true. You know, and that's the goal for every artist. I think you wanna find you wanna have the chance to have that time, so you can be aware of when. Obviously, I'm always working. I don't remember who said this, but you know, like inspiration has to find you working. But the thing is, like when inspiration comes nowadays, I have more time and resources to just stop and think about it and see how the dots are connecting. And that's what I want to like create. That's the infinity room. That's where I am. You know, this is how I'm feeling. This is what I want to put out there. Yes.
So the first tokenized work that is an expression of those dots connecting, what is it, and why did you choose it?
In when that, like the first NFTs,
The very first
NFTs, it was all about fiat is violence, about that message.
And that was a series, right? That was a series.
Yeah. It was all about that because like I was telling you, it was at that point in time and history when a lot of dots were connecting. So I had a little bit of previous experience working for as a designer for blockchain companies and projects, and then crypto art came. So it was like, how come people don't actually see all the revolutionary aspects of all these technologies, and they're still talking about how Bitcoin is being used by the bad guys, you know, whoever they are, you know, because I hate those kind of like empty tags. You know, anybody could be a bad hombre. Anybody could be, you know, the bad guy. And I'm like, dude, no. I mean, when I look into my own experience as a Latin American, it's kind of like fiat money has been used for much more terrible stuff than Bitcoin has, you know? I'm sorry to be the history buff, right? But, you know, a lot of like democratically elected governments in Latin America, you know, those overthrowing them wasn't paid using Bitcoins.
Mhm.
It wasn't. I'm in Mexico, Mexican cartels. Um, I'm pretty like most like the Mexican cartels. They don't want Bitcoin. They
Mhm.
want dollars.
Mhm.
That's still what they really want. And you have HSBC, the British bank here, who
Mhm.
had to admit not long ago that they had been laundering billions
Mhm.
for the Mexican cartels. They didn't launder Bitcoin.
Oh.
They launder US dollars, and all the terrible things that the Mexican state government has done to repress and oppress their people. All of those salaries of the military men that have kidnapped and disappeared people, all those salaries weren't paid in Bitcoin. They were paid in Mexican pesos. So it's kind of like let me really show you the ugly side of fiat money, because apparently you like not everybody's seeing the same things that I'm seeing,
Mhm.
because I'm seeing another narrative. I'm seeing Bitcoin letting people like myself who live in the third world empower themselves financially,
Mhm.
access financial services that we didn't have any other like way of accessing. Like we couldn't buy stocks on the US market, for example, but now you can buy synthetics on the
Mhm.
blockchain. So, that kind of stuff. You can be here and you can earn interest on your crypto. That kind of thing. We didn't have access before to those financial services. So that first series, what was all about that. Like, this is the narrative that I have, and I
Mhm.
want to put it out there.
It's interesting, right? Oftentimes when things are just different, right? That's it. When something is just different, there tends to be that negative narrative looking at the dark side of what that thing that is different is bringing, as opposed to the hope or the positives that that thing is bringing as well. So I appreciate that process that you went through, where you're watching this play out, you're seeing the positive side of it, you're experiencing the positive side of it, the hope that's attached to it. You see some of the dark sides of the other forms of currency, and you
Mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
you speak about it through your creative means.
Right, right, definitely, and I think that's what art is supposed to do. Like I actually, and this is really interesting because I've had people before kind of like criticize artists that use kind of like references to Bitcoin or to Ethereum. I've heard those comments, and I remember like listening to an art critic talk about like how Picasso painted the things that were around him. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's why you find so many women. That's why you find the cats. That's why you find the Spanish bulls. He just talked about the things that were around him.
Yes.
So what do you want me to talk about if I've been completely immersed in this crypto world, because I really believe in how it can change the world, the life of a lot of people all over the world, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And even though not all of my pieces are about like crypto, because then you have like the infinity rooms, and the infinity rooms are something completely different, and you don't know where they're coming from. And one is about a dream, and you have,
Mm-hmm.
and one has water, and but I like that. I like to feel like that's why I'm an artist. Like, I can talk about whatever I want. I don't have to pigeonhole myself. I don't know
Yeah.
if that's how you say
That's
it.
yeah.
Yes. um like, if I want to talk about crypto and how life changing it's been for me, I'll do it. I'm gonna do it, because just like Picasso, I talk about the things that I have around.
Art is history. Art is creative storytelling. That's that's
Exactly.
my that's my personal favorite part about it. It's when you
Yes.
can
Yes.
when you get a message, and it doesn't always have to be a message you agree with. Some art doesn't speak to you. That's okay, right? But it's when you can see it. And I like how you know what you said about XCOPY. That
Mm-hmm.
really resonated with me. You said with something along the lines of, paraphrasing you, that you always got that there was something to it. You got that there was a messaging to it. And sometimes it spoke directly to you. You knew exactly what he was trying to say. And other times, maybe not so much, but you
Right.
always got that there was a deeper level to it all.
Yes, exactly. Like every good artist, like you don't get everything, and they're so complex and so complicated, and sometimes you're able to read between lines. sometimes you can't read between the lines, and you actually don't care. You know, you just know there's something valuable that it's, you know, something there that's trying to be said. And for me, art, it's about being humble. It's about being able, like you said it, and that's why I have this in my mind right now. Like, you don't always agree with the point of view of the artist or the other artist. You don't always. But if you really like art, if you really love art, you're at least gonna approach each and every artwork that you encounter on SuperRare or the MoMA or an art gallery. It doesn't matter where it is. I think the right mindset is with humility. You have to be humble. You're being given the opportunity for however much time you spend in that museum, right? In that art gallery, on Nifty Gateway, on Maker's Place. It doesn't really matter. You're being given the opportunity for a couple of seconds, minutes, whatever that might be, to see the world through somebody's else's eyes.
Yeah. Art allows you to travel without traveling, right?
Exactly. And it's that's the beauty of it. And you can connect, you know, deeply with, it's kind of like my and I'm gonna like use the space to well, this is coming next week, but this week I have my Nifty Gateway drop, right? So I'm hoping when you're watching this in the future, everything went well.
Yes.
And I had an amazing drop, you know?
No, wait, Carlos, you know what? No, forget, I'm rerouting. We will release, I'm changing everything. We're releasing this episode prior to your drop. Period, end of story.
Okay. So I have that drop, you know, on March the 18th, and it's called House of Marcial, you know, and it has 3 rooms. So it's my house with these rooms, and each one of them it's inspired by and dedicated to an artist that I admire, you know. And
Carlos, that drop is tomorrow, by the way. You're coming out on Wednesday.
Okay.
The drop is tomorrow night, Thursday night. Everyone has this on Wednesday. That's it. Seal the deal.
Okay, perfect. So you're gonna see that. You're gonna take a chance to pick into those rooms, which I think for me they're kind of like little doors into my soul. And in this particular case, it's about my artistic soul. It's about those artists, like what I'm trying to communicate, and I hopefully communicate with this drop. It's kind of like I'm here and I'm an artist because these people believe in themselves and in art before I did.
I like that. So let's take that step back. I want to go back to SuperRare. So you tokenize your first work. You tokenize the first series of work that's exploring the relationship with fiat, right? With fiat, with the thought of Bitcoin and the story that's being told, and maybe spinning that narrative a little bit to suit what you're seeing. Where do you go next? So along the SuperRare road, because you do have between 30 and 40 works on SuperRare.
Yeah.
What's wait, what?
64. Yeah.
64?
Yeah. I cannot believe it either.
65. Oh my gosh. Wait, why was I stuck on 30 to 40? I don't know where I got that from.
I work a little bit more than that. I put a little bit more work.
A lot more work, 2x that work. Usually my research is spot on. Obviously I have it up on my screen here as well. I don't know where. Anyway, 65 artworks on SuperRare, begins with that series. Give us a few more milestone markers along SuperRare road.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think one of them, obviously, like putting out that series and see how well, you know, those early collectors vibe with that and understood what I was trying to say. That obviously like gave me the energy to keep going. I would say the other milestone is like the infinity rooms.
Yes.
The interesting thing is like the infinity rooms is something that came to me as I progressed, as my journey went on, and I felt I needed something that I could just play with constantly, and that it would be kind of like I thought I was gonna just keep doing like the fiat is violence thing, but I needed something to kind of like cleanse the palate, so it wouldn't be all about that. And I put out the first Infinity Rooms, and they just raised the price. Like people started bidding more on those, and I remember breaking my like with Lucho Poletti.
Yeah.
My collab with Lucho Poletti would ended up being sold for $45,000 on the secondary market, and we got like $600, for that one on the primary market. And for me, it was like $600 for one of my, MP4s that I've been just putting out on Instagram and on other platforms. I haven't seen, no kind of like money. Yeah. Like when I hit like $600 per NFT, I thought to myself, oh my God, there's something here for me.
Yeah.
This is interesting. I have to keep going.
You know what, Carlos, can I real quick, can I do a tangent, see if you agree or disagree with this? And I think you'll appreciate this, but you tell me. Something I've been really thinking about lately, and something I did post about recently on Twitter, the value of JPEGs or MP4s, right? This is a thing. You see some haters coming into the space right now, looking at the space from the outside. And they're saying things like, oh, this is a pyramid scheme because these things have always been freely available. I take umbrage to that. I take true offense to that. Because if you look, let's use the Instagram example. You're putting your heart and soul into something, you're putting it on Instagram. But here's the hidden transaction that takes place behind the scenes.
Yeah.
If that is a valued piece of artwork, if that is a valued MP4, Instagram is earning quite a large dollar sum on that work.
Exactly.
And you're taking a chance to build community around that work, right? That is a transaction of literal value, but the value is being obscured and it's going into Instagram's pocket behind the scenes. I really want people to understand that. These images are not freely available.
No,
they're not.
No, they're making somebody else rich. That's it.
Boom.
That's it.
And now
they're making Instagram wealthy, and they already are. They're a humongous, a mammoth of a company, because they've been able to monetize and capitalize on all those MP4s and JPEGs that we've been uploading.
Yes. So I want that point to be loud and proud, and for people to understand these are not free works of art. They never have been. It's just about where does the money go and what is the transaction that is being made. And just because it's subtle and it's happening behind the scenes does not mean we shouldn't talk about it and now respect the artist that is directly transactioning with the community. That to me is a powerful thing. So I wanted to sorry to hijack your stage to make that point, but I think it ties in.
I couldn't agree more. I think we cannot be naive about this. Like we were making other people, we were making these big companies, a lot of money. Like you say, like the transaction was behind the curtains, and as centralized systems, that powerful center would absorb, and it's still absorbing all those monetary gains, and NFTs just came to interrupt that, to disrupt that, as they love to say in Silicon Valley. It came to disrupt that, get a lot of the middlemen in between, and let artists finally get the value they deserve. And it's the NFT. I mean, if I had only been doing the images, but the thing here is you have an NFT, and the NFT, it's provable scarcity. It's on the blockchain. It's immutable. It's incorruptible. And that's why people deem it valuable. It's the same with Bitcoin. So I'm finally, and we're already in 2021, when I'm actually understanding that I'm just experiencing the same thing I experienced with Bitcoin before, and with ETH. And that like that scares me a little bit, but in a good way. Kind of like saying, man, wow, this is it. Wow. You know what I mean? Like and that's why you see all the fun. And that's why you see all the people commenting. And that's the same thing. So even when this bull run is over, NFTs, they've always been here. Now they're just gonna be more present. They're gonna be more here. You know, the hype is gonna like die down a little bit, and it's gonna be time to build again. You know, and you're gonna have like the projects that have been here, you know, and who truly believe in all of this. They'll, you know, we'll all be constructing and building really interesting stuff, getting ready for the bull run of 2025. You know, so the right. We're only seeing the initial value of NFTs, and it's crazy to say that and to be witnessing that.
It really is, and it's natural human cycles, right? It's very, very, very natural cycles, very healthy cycles too. And when the time comes, and the time will, when the hype dies down a little bit, it's going to be okay.
It's going to be okay.
It's not going anywhere. And the trail of progress will blaze on.
Of course, and people need to hear that.
Yeah,
you know,
people do.
They do, because then you can prepare yourself. You're not anxious. You're not at the mercy of, you know, other factors, and you realize that this is a game, like a technology that it's a game changer. And the cultural movement around it is also game changer, and it's not gonna go away. That's here to stay. That's here to stay. Like, dude, if you had asked me like even 6 months ago, I would have been like, dude, I'm even though I'm like, you know, selling my NFTs, it would have been like different. It would have been, I'm not that sure. I'm not quite sure. Now it's like, wow, the technology is here to stay. You know, we've got to keep building this. Obviously, there's going to be fluctuations, and it's going to come down, come back up. Some projects will survive, some might not, but it's here to stay.
It's here to stay.
Yeah.
And speaking of something that's here to stay and something that is going on and on continuously, back to your infinity rooms. And I want to ask you, can you guess the artwork of Carlos Marcial that blew me away in recent history? Can you guess it?
You're asking me?
I'm asking you. Can you guess the one that got Roger and blew me away, left me flat on the floor when I saw it?
Dude, I'm gonna say the Here Comes Fiat, the one with the tank and the US dollar.
So let's give Here Comes Fiat the attention it deserves. So that goes a shout out to Rudy, by the way. Shout out to Rudy. And that was a 50 sale price, unbelievable. The work of art itself, which is the tank, right? The tank with the dollar on it, just endlessly coming.
Yes.
But the one, Carlos, that got me, it's that, yes, of course, but that really spoke to me was Infinite Consume.
Okay, yes, for sure. My collab with XCOPY, yes.
Your collab with XCOPY.
That was like the most like that I've ever been excited about putting together an infinity room. Yeah. I had the opportunity to talk to XCOPY, to video chat with him, because he's quite kind of like the mysterious figure. Man, what a freaking nice guy, funny guy. Like the same thing that you see in his like tweets, that personality, it comes through. When you talk to him, we couldn't stop laughing, man.
Yeah, authenticity.
We couldn't stop laughing. I felt so connected to that guy, and everything like because we've been through like a lot of like the things that have been going on, so we're on the same page. And everything he said, it vibed with me, and we would laugh, and putting that together was the most excited I've ever been. So if you connected with that, it's probably because that, you know, it's the one that I felt like a kid, like I'm working with XCOPY, like I'm putting this together with him.
And it truly is one of those collaborations that you immediately know who's involved.
Right.
And and you elevate each other, right? It's like everything happens together, and you see it, and it just obviously the room is literally coming at you. That one came through my computer screen
Thank you,
and grabbed me. I just think it is fabulous.
I'm glad it did, and I'm thinking like the collector. Is it who ended up collecting that one? It's not Rudy. It's nobody.
Nobody. Yep. That's
Nobody.
right.
Nobody collected it. That's fun to say. They probably saw the same thing, you know. And that's the beauty of all this that have been going on. Like in the past, my work would have just get lost, you know, in that infinite sea of Instagram posts. And now my art is not only meaningful for me, but it's meaningful for the other artists that I collaborate with. It's meaningful to the collectors, you know, to that history of collectors that is on the blockchain. And back to my origin story, like that's why I decided to tokenize my first NFT. Apart from the message that I was trying to put out there, it was because I felt strongly about the idea of saying, here I am, and my art is here, and Carlos Marcial is here, and his name is written on an immutable ledger on a blockchain, and it's gonna be there forever as long as we have electricity and civilizations, right? It's gonna be there. So I wasn't sure if I was gonna make money. I'm glad, you know, it worked out for me. But the main idea, Roger, was to put something on an immutable ledger for people in the future to see.
You are literally writing history. You're time capsuling it. You're protecting it.
That's it.
And it can be viewed. It will just be able to be interacted with and viewed and collected and maybe recollected, maybe transacted at some point in the future.
And that's how I thought about it. You know, for me, that was kind of like the elegance and the beauty of the technology, you know, because I'm very Freudian in the sense that, well, Freud said that artists are obsessed with death. And that art is nothing more than an intent to encapsulate a piece of time.
Yeah.
And that's why we're obsessed with death. So for me, it was that. It was time capsuling it. I love how you put it. That's it, you know? And that's Freud also, you know?
Before we jump off of SuperRare, I want to talk about one more work of art. And that work of art was also something that I noticed, and it was because it was a tribute. It was because it meant something to you, and you shared that over Twitter. But that work of art is nostalgia.
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's my aunt. That's the most personal one, I would say. I mean, they're all personal. They all. I don't usually necessarily talk about what they mean for me in the moment that I do them. For example, you have the one, sorry to kind of like just jump back a little bit. Like I will not drown because I've learned to fly. That's when I became a full-time crypto artist. And I don't think people don't know that. Like I've kept that to myself, you know, but it was that deep. It was kind of like, you know what, fuck everybody else. I've learned to fly and I'm gonna fly and I'm not gonna drown. I found my way. You know, and that was very deep. But then, you know, this one was inspired. I was having like another recurring dream because I also have a piece that it's inspired by a recurring dream, and that one with the nostalgia is actually another recurring dream. Very oniric, very oniric. I mean, they're dreams.
Yeah.
And then unfortunately, my aunt died in Puerto Rico. So those two things, you know, both mixing nostalgia because the recurring dream that I was having was of a car burning, and it brought me a lot of nostalgia. I didn't know why. Now I know it was because my aunt was ready to pass, you know, and when it happened, it all makes sense, and I know why. Like those are the dots also connecting. Those are the dots talking to me, and they want me to connect the things that I've been experiencing. And I knew that I had to put that together. Shout out to DJ the Collector. Great person. I love chatting with them. I love chatting with him. They're all amazing. So he collected a very personal part of my soul.
Mm-hmm. It makes me, it makes me happy that you were able to, I don't know, put a tribute, a legacy piece out there. I don't know, share it with such bravery. It really, it spoke to me, and I'm happy that obviously DJ collected it, and it lives on. Just to go back, it lives on.
Exactly. I see the connection you're trying to make. Definitely. That's also why I wanted to put that piece out there with her name and that dedication, because I found out that blockchain is the way I immortalize my own feelings and even the people I love.
I love it.
That's also why blockchain is so meaningful to me.
Yes. Yes. All right. So let us shift into a very quick, we're going to do a quick lightning round. Ready to play a game? It's snap reaction.
Okay.
In the moment, almost like first word or phrase or sentence that comes to mind, whatever it may be, as silly as it may be, as profound as it may be, wherever you want to go.
I've been loving this conversation with you, and I cannot wait for the chance to meet you personally and, have a beer and, yeah.
I cannot, so many of these positive relationships, I really cannot wait for those, wherever it occurs.
Right.
If it occurs in Mexico, if it's a central location, wherever it is, it's going to be
happen.
A great day when that time comes.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Yeah.
All right. Here we go.
I'm ready. Here we go.
Lightning round. Carlos Marcial. Number 1, crypto art.
Life-changing. Absolutely life-changing. The best thing that has ever happened in my life. The biggest miracle after seeing my children being born.
Number 2, Bitcoin.
Freedom. Financial services for the people who have never had the opportunity to access financial services and wealth creation tools.
Number 3, fiat currency.
Violence. Toppling of governments. Mexican cartels, prostitution, human trafficking, all that stuff. Mm-hmm.
Number 4, favorite piece of artwork that is not your own, and if you prefer, because sometimes that's like to exclude or who to honor, if you prefer, the most recent NFT that you saw that captivated you.
Dude, I'm just gonna chill one of the artists that are up and coming that I just recently acquired one of his NFTs on Foundation, Laithsafa. He's from Toronto in Canada. The interesting story with Laith is when I spent some time in Toronto working for a studio and we used to work together. And that's how I know him personally when I was in Canada. And obviously he reached out to me. I mean, when he found out about, what was going on with me.
Yeah.
And it's been amazing because when I met him, a couple of some years ago, I was blown away by his art back then, but there was no way that I could have collected it. And now, 4 or 5 years later, I'm collecting his art, I'm supporting him, and I'm seeing him grow. And his art has one of the strongest voices I've ever seen or heard in crypto art, in 3D art.
And it's come full circle. I like that.
Yes. Man, I'm full of interesting stories.
I know. We're doing this. We're doing this again. This origin story.
Yeah.
Origin story does not have enough time to contain it. Yeah. All right. Number 5, Tommy Wilson.
A great friend. Yes, we've become more than colleagues. We've become friends. It's very interesting because I grew up playing baseball like many other kids in Puerto Rico. And the fact, I was starstruck when he reached out to me and asked me, oh, I want to meet you. I want to talk to you. I love your art. I was starstruck because, I knew he was like a MLB player. Yeah, and he's become a real friend.
Wonderful.
And I love his art. He's been coming into his own 3D art, and that process of seeing him, that dude, the ability that he has to learn so fast, it's crazy. That's why he's an overachiever.
Yeah. he's literally evolving in real time,
Yes,
and it's amazing to see.
literally. Yes. Yeah.
Number 6, Nifty Gateway.
Nifty Gateway. The Nifty Gateway, the forefront. They've been pushing the space. They've been getting a lot of hit. They've been, everybody has noticed them, and obviously they've played a massive role in NFTs and crypto art being discovered. So they've taken a lot of hit, but that's what happens when you are ready to push the space forward.
Mm-hmm. Number 7, SuperRare.
SuperRare, my home, my origin.
The origin. I like
the origin, where I started. Like, you can see my eyes just like light up.
Yeah.
I met them personally before COVID-19 hit in Denver, Colorado, during the last Ethereum Denver conference that happened physically. I met them there. I met John and I met Charlie. We had the best of time. I was a nobody. I was just selling a couple of NFTs here and there. I actually had the chance to talk to them directly while we were like drinking beers. I was super fun. And I told them, you guys it was just after Christmas. Okay. So I told them my kids had the best Christmas because of you guys.
I love that. That's a good story.
Dude, I'm telling you, I'm full of stories.
It's a good
I'm
story.
just full of stories. And I got their they took a VR headset with them to Ethereum Denver. Who do you think took the headset? They ended up, I begged so much, like I needed a VR headset. They said, okay, we'll sell you the VR headset. So I brought the SuperRare VR headset, the first VR headset that the SuperRare team bought. It's with me here in Mexico City.
That is so good.
So it's like crypto art memorabilia. Yeah. I'll end up like opening, a small memorabilia, crypto art memorabilia place.
You better. Number 8, dream collaboration in the future. You've done a number of collaborations, but what comes to the mind randomly that you would like to explore?
Like with somebody who's already in crypto art?
Go wherever you want. Could be in, could be out.
Man, in that case, I tend to have like my feet more grounded in the earth. And I know he's already tokenizing. And I think we could do something interesting. He actually even replied to one of my tweets. So Refik Anadol, Refik Anadol, if you're like watching this, I would love to sit down and talk to you and collaborate with you.
I can only imagine that would be a big deal. I would like to see that very, very much. Very, very much. Number 9, what other artists, and you talked about Laith earlier, but what other artist is being slept on and maybe you want to give a little shine and extra attention to in this moment?
Oh man, I mean, I think there are a lot of them, but if this is a big chance to say, I think there's a lot of OGs that have been here for a while, and they're I mean, some of them, they haven't been slept on, but I think they could just be grow bigger. Who I want to say, let me think. No, because then if I say, wait, let me rephrase. Can we do that like again or no?
You're okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, can I pause and I'm gonna start like yeah. So I'm gonna say, for me, instead of like just mentioning one name in particular, I think there's a whole group of crypto artists who have been around the same time, like the same amount of time as me, and I think they're just gonna like blow up. A lot of them haven't, like, they've seen a rise in the prices, but they haven't blown up that much, and I think their secondary market is just gonna get really crazy. So instead of like saying one name, I'm just gonna say, like, there's a lot of collectors that need to go and check all those OG crypto artists on SuperRare that are being currently slept on.
I like that. Do your own research. Find
Yeah.
those OG, right? I
Yeah.
do see that happening in a number of
Yeah.
places. I do agree it can happen in a lot of other places. And so I
Yeah, exactly.
fully support that message.
Thank you.
Carlos, working this into the lightning round, do have a hard stop in a few minutes here, but we're going to do this. We're going to do this again soon. I have another idea for us in the near future. But to end, number 10 on the lightning round, I want to circle it all the way back to that important event that is taking place tomorrow on Nifty Gateway, and that is your drop. So give the people a little bit more on what they can expect tomorrow. Just a little under 36 hours away.
Right, exactly. So what you're gonna see is crypto art become full circle on Nifty Gateway. I gotta say, like, the Nifty team have been very supportive of my art from the very beginning when I reached out to them. And I had the opportunity to talk, with Duncan. I had the chance, and Tommy, and I knew, that the kind of people they were and how passionate they were about this whole ecosystem. So I first and foremost, I want to say thank you, to Nifty Gateway. I've seen them grow, from the very first drop. I remember the first drop. I was watching that drop. Unfortunately, I didn't get anything back then. And I've seen them grow, and it's been special, and it's been amazing. They've become my collectors. Duncan has has an NFT of this is kind of like a trivia. There's an NFT on SuperRare that is actually owned by Duncan.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'll let you all find that one. And you might just like consider bidding on it, But there's an NFT on SuperRare that is actually owned by Duncan. And I'm super grateful, for them believing in me. And I just want to say that you're gonna see my soul, my heart. You're gonna see my artistic influences. Who am I made of? Who I need to honor and recognize. My ancestors, my artistic ancestors. I'm gonna put them there on those rooms tomorrow. And I think whichever piece people might get, I think all of them are really special. Obviously, there's gonna be a one-of-one. That's the big one. There's gonna be a silent auctions with an edition of 5, and then for the very first time, I'm gonna be doing open editions, right?
Nice.
And it's gonna be 3 minutes, so it's quite quick to kind of like it's special. You gotta be quick, but I put all my heart even into the open edition. Even though the open edition, you're gonna you're gonna be able to see why it's the open edition, right? Yeah. And why the other one is the one-of-one, but it doesn't mean my heart and my soul is not in it. And I'm really looking forward. Like, my infinity rooms have become really special, really scarce. And a lot of people identify me because of the infinity rooms. So the chance that tomorrow, a good amount of people will have the opportunity to own their first infinity room ever. That is what, like, I'm really excited about that.
Carlos, heart is not I am a full believer that we are going to see your heart shine through on every single one of these pieces. I love that the open edition window is briefer. I love that the infinity room is something that now more people will have a chance to collect.
Yep.
I can't wait for it. Less than 36 hours away.
Yes.
And we're going to see you again very soon. I'm going to talk to you off air about another idea I have for us.
Perfect. Thank you, Roger. Anytime. I mean, it's been a pleasure. I was right about it. I was right about your podcast. I felt how comfortable other people felt, and that's how I felt.
I love it. I love it.
So thanks a lot.
All right. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Talk to you soon.